Hey guys, how are you? Had a rough week. I'm not going to get into all the details, but I'm here. I made it.
Yes. See, all it took was one Maryland tailgate to knock you out for a whole week, man. That's impressive.
I was knocked out for a week in a very serious way, but not going to get into all the details. But yeah, it was a fun tailgate. It was a great game, and it was good seeing everybody. It was a little. I wish there were more people, right? It was a little sad, the number of people at the tailgate and that kind of stuff. Before we really get into it, though, we had Jim Smith on 2 weeks ago. And, we do the fill in the blank. And I said, the number of teams in the Big Ten in 2030 will be, and he said 20, which, as
very matter-of-factly and very much a thing that got some of our eyebrows furrowed, as it were.
And should I say the name of the reporter who jumped on it and didn't attribute to us?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
I should. Jeff?
Yeah, I don't care.
So Brett McMurphy jumped on it, did not attribute to us, tweeted it. Then they go on. Should I say the name of the podcast he was on and everything? Okay.
Just drop it all out there.
They were on the On3 podcast with Andy and Ari. I love those guys. I watch them a lot. And he tried to say it in the show. He said Inside Maryland Radio. But they never linked it. He never linked it. They got the name wrong. I swear to you, double-digit other outlets have picked it up since then. And 2 of them credited us. The rest all credited Brett McMurphy. I'm like, what? What is going on, guys? And a lot of them.
Do you have the name of the 2 that credited us? Because I feel like we should reward this behavior.
Yeah. Shout out to the one guy who linked it and mentioned it and said it was in the comments and everything.
So the big
sort of like I don't want to say amateur. He looks like he has a good following, but he's not at a big network or a big journalist kind of guy.
Well, a lot of the people who did it weren't at big networks. On3 was the biggest. With Brett McMurphy, Andy, and Ari, they were the biggest. Although I think Sports Illustrated picked it up also. So that's a big number.
I mean, how are we counting them these days?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
Sports Illustrated.
They're a content mill that just scrapes from other people's work for the most part.
Well,
so I'm surprised by that.
That's what they did.
Well, that fits.
The two outlets that properly credit us, the Big Ten Huddle, my boys, the Big Ten Huddle, love those guys, JR and Zach, love those guys. Both of them, they're really cool dudes. They know their shit. They said the name of the show, all that stuff, and even said us by name, because they know us personally, right? And then the other one that you're talking about is Greg Flugar, and he actually has a little bit of renown because he was the first one to break USC and UCLA to the Big Ten. And he's not a big outlet, but he broke it, and everybody picked up off of him. And then it kind of went like what just happened to us. So he has a lot of followers, and he goes live, and he does like 2-hour-long shows where people are calling in. And so he's all college football, though. He covers the entire college football world, and he focuses on realignment. That's one of his biggest things that he focuses on. So those were the 2. And then there were a bunch of others. And I wrote to some of them and said, hey, man. And a lot of them got the context way wrong. They're like, why is this guy running his mouth about expansion like Maryland's running expansion? And it was like, whoa. Did you watch it? It was a rapid-fire segment where he just spat off a number quickly.
Yeah, it wasn't like he gave like a long
he didn't say Maryland's running expansion. What are you talking about? He just
whatever. A lot of these guys just want to find it. Maryland's just an easy target for them. There's no reason to talk about Maryland unless it's something like this, right? So if you're a big, you're like a Michigan show or something, and you talk Big Ten also, you're going to bring this up just as a reason to pick on the little guy, and that's fine. That's fine.
Wait a second.
But that doesn't make you any less bitch made. But it is what it is.
He was asked about it on BTN Tailgate. Jim Smith was? Wow. I did not see that because I was there. So I got there at 9 a.m. So I didn't see the BTN Tailgate. That's crazy.
Who knew that little throwaway quick question like that was going to be?
And JM says it was asked, and then he said IMS wasn't mentioned though, and said he should have said 18 LOL.
Yeah, I figured you knew he regretted that one once it started to become a thing.
Well, that was kind of the funny thing about it. I was like, okay, I had kind of like a angel devil on my shoulder. One being like, hey, man, go get your credit. Like, we deserve this. Larry got that information. Like, that's a good scoop. You know, and the other one being like, ooh, Jim's never going to talk to us again if we keep doing that kind of thing. So I went back and forth a little bit on it.
He'll chalk it up as early
learning curve.
Learning. Yeah, exactly.
Look, I mean, who can count how many teams are in the Big Ten right now? I just assumed it was 20. I don't know. You know, mistakes happen, right? Mistakes were made.
Well, now after all these years, you guys can see why I get so pissed when people use our stuff without attributing. I mean, I aggravate stuff all the time, but I make it a rule to always link it and give proper citation, you know? But some people just don't care about that.
Right. And some stuff is, you know, a lot of times with this, it comes back to like, you know, like one focal point, like a Brett McMurphy guy, like he's big enough. He just tweets it and everybody starts referencing his tweet, not where he got it from, because he didn't originally say on his tweet that it came from us or linked to it or anything. So then it gets out of hand and it's like, all right, am I mad at this guy who like got it from Brett McMurphy, even though it was kind of Brett not really doing the proper attribute? I don't know. It's, in this world, man, it's just so different than, you know, I mean, I went to journalism school in the late 90s and this stuff would have all been completely out of character and out of bounds and like would have got people fired, you know, 30 years ago. But now it's just with the internet and the speed that everything moves.
You have to go fast,
man.
Well, yeah. They know that for the most part, readers / listeners don't really care who the original source was, or they don't care if the writer or outlet is adding any sort of depth or information to the report that they're aggregating or whatever else. They know that the average reader doesn't care. So it's just, hopefully they find ours first.
Right. And it's kind of like message boards culture too, like in the way that like you celebrate the kind of like insider poster, you know, it's like, you know, Terps, you know, numbers after their name that happens to know this, you know, or post some kind of comment that makes you think, oh, that might be a player parent. That might be somebody in the athletic department. You know, it becomes kind of like a serotonin hit where everybody's like, ooh, what's that guy got? You know, maybe this secret insider that only I know about has got the real scoop. You know, it's just the way the thing is gone. And it sucks for some of us old timers, but like, you know, it's where we live in and you just got to roll with it.
It's better to be first than correct.
There you go.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. So that's that.
That's just me, you know.
Yeah. Well, so that's that. Nobody can step in your shoes, Jeffrey.
The last week I've been sending you guys links, video after video after video on YouTube videos of different outlets. It's crazy. I saw another one today. Another kind of rival, kind of.
Well, you gotta send that one.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I had to get up.
Did not attribute.
I'll say I had to get up early, like Sunday or Monday, for a softball tournament. And it's like 1 a.m. and I'm getting these texts from Larry every 15 minutes with some new link to something. I'm like, God damn it, go to bed, man. Of course, I didn't know he was in like a friggin' hospital, but whatever. We're good.
Yeah.
I forgive you this time.
Yeah, Maryland's segue was so good. They played so well on Saturday that they put Larry in the hospital. That's crazy.
They did.
Yeah.
4 days.
Literally, he literally couldn't believe it. His body failed him.
The Malik Washington era has begun. What'd you guys think?
Well, I think I can't believe that Locke started Malik. Nobody knew this was going to happen. It was such a big secret. You know, they've really been building this up, you know, to a degree that everybody was just on pins and needles, just waiting for the announcement. But I will say, of course, when we got it, it came from one Jeffrey Ehrman. So hat tip on that. And yeah, if you want to just get right into the game, I don't think Maryland could have looked much better if you forget about that first quarter, you know, in terms of playing a team that's not like a total also ran. You're playing against the quarterback who was the Conference USA Player of the Year last year, so no bum. And they damn near could have had 8 or 9 picks if they caught the ball. They caught all the balls that were thrown to them.
Or didn't have all those offside penalties. That's the other thing.
That will be addressed. We're going to start with the good.
Also, before that, Jeff, what was your post from a very good source?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be who was that very good source, Jeff? Let's see.
The hot dog guy in section. Whatever.
Yeah, it was Brett McMurphy had it.
Brett McMurphy. Yeah.
He passed along. That was his mea culpa.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the kids are all right so far. I mean, I was shocked that they played as many of them as they did. Obviously with Stewart and with Zahir Mathis coming off the edge, and I think started and both played something like 60 snaps. Like, I mean, obviously Malik was going to do what he did. It took him a while. The offensive game plan was really interesting to me because for me, you've got a freshman quarterback, you figure the first thing you're going to do is just like, all right, let's just line up and run the ball. Great, nice and easy. We'll, kind of let himself into it easy. And they just went out and let Malik chuck. Now, I think he changed a lot of those plays at the line based on what FAU was showing, but it was still really interesting.
By the way, is even more encouraging. But
absolutely. And Malik's football brain was never the concern for me. Like, if you watch this tape, you can see he was in total control in high school. And I'm not worried about that. And even the stuff we saw with some overthrows and issues with him on the run seemed like his football brain was making the right reads and the right choices. Sometimes his arm let him down. That's something you can work with and something you can teach. You can't teach a good football brain. You can't teach IQ. You can't teach like the ability to break things down, figure out what's going on, make the right reads and adjust. But I mean, they just let him throw through it. It was like a couple times 3 and outs, a couple times he went, I think one of the 3 and outs were 3 drops in a row. He put balls right on guys' hands and in their chests, and they couldn't get him in. Okay, first week, going to happen. Way more interested in how Malik was doing than the guys being able to catch the ball. And certainly once the second quarter came around, everybody seemed to figure everything out, and that was that on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, it was all picks. I mean, that guy was just chucking balls to Maryland players all day. They were getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, just rushing 4, sometimes 5. Not a lot of really exotic stuff. Just it looked like the defense was a little more aggressive, definitely trying to get in lanes as opposed to read and react, which kind of Maryland got stuck doing last year because the secondary was so bad. All the caveats, okay? All of them. You don't need to get, I'm not going to be super optimistic. That's not how I roll. But I mean, there's not really a ton to complain about in terms of the things you really worry about, which numbers 1 through 5 is Malik Washington going to be able to do it? And so far, that test was passed for me. There's certainly some things to complain about. And Larry, you could start with the penalties because, boy, that first quarter was that first drive was one of the roughest things I think I've ever seen.
Listen, the penalties and the way Malik started, I was like in the middle of the game thread saying some not so good things. And the funniest part about that is Naki was sitting right in front of me. And I was saying this stuff. And then the second quarter they start dominating him like, see, I told you, let the process play out. Let's go. And Naki's turning around like looking at me like, which was really funny. But,
I heard you, buddy.
Yeah. But the penalties, it'd be one thing if it wasn't a historical issue, but it's a historical issue.
Oh yeah.
And it's like,
it's a feature, not bug.
Yeah, and the worst thing if you want a little bit, just the littlest bit of daylight, is most of the penalties were procedural things. They were jumping a snap. I mean, I think like 9 of them or something were some sort of false start or offsides or whatever. Now, obviously, you can't have that. But like, if you're going to have penalties, I guess I'd rather have those in week 1 with a team full of freshmen and sophomores than, 13 pass interferences and holdings and things of that nature. That's the only silver lining you're getting from me on that issue, because that's just not acceptable at all, and it's seriously going to hurt them when they start playing teams that actually have a pulse.
Getting delay of game on a punt and on defense in the first 5 minutes or so has got to be a first.
Well, having to call a timeout off of a TV timeout in the first half as well. Like, there were a lot of miscommunications. And look, let's just be honest. We've had 6 years of Mike Locksley, and this is going to be part of how that goes. And not that it makes it okay, but like it shouldn't be super unexpected at this point, just not to that degree.
It's why many people believe there's a limit to how good Maryland can get with him. You see it. People talk about this a lot. Lack of discipline, penalties, missed assignments, things like that, clock management. And a lot of people bring that stuff up. I'm still hoping, let's see him he's got this new wave of players come in, and it was so many young guys for the first time getting action. Let's maybe just say, hey, it was their first game and they were overamped and they were excited. Let's hope that's what it was.
Like Locke said, a lot of it was the freshmen, but man, those kids look good. I can't remember the last. And I said it all summer that they feel like they have some young talent that people are sleeping on. That's not like certified by a win over FAU, but you can see it. You can see the talent with Malik. The two defensive ends, pass rushers look unbelievable. We'll see what they do when, in a few weeks when it's Wisconsin and not Florida Atlantic. But, obviously with the caveat, or not even caveat, the unfortunate part being that you lose one of the top freshmen, Jalen Gilchrist, on the offensive line, who was one of their better offensive linemen in camp, and for what I understand, had a really good chance to move into the starting lineup and be one of their better linemen by, like mid-season. So now all of a sudden you're super thin there at a position that was already a little tenuous, but the freshmen just looked unbelievable. Sidney Stewart, all summer and spring and summer and fall, early fall, that was the word, was that he was just a beast. You could see it. I mean, the way he hit Velkamp, he might have a little bit of Sean Merriman in him just in terms of how he hits. I mean, he annihilated Velkamp in the end zone on that safety. His explosion, the one play he ran around the tight end and the offensive lineman. That might have been actually the safety. I don't recall, and then
that was the safety. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, and then the other thing that stands out obviously is the secondary, not just because of the 6 picks, but the coverage was way better. You can see the increased speed, closing out plays that might have gotten outside for a first down. Kevin Humes, who was really, really struggled last year as a true freshman, he popped off the screen to me. They said he looked way better this year, and he does. So, it's always the same as these first games every year. You don't want to take that much from it. That one year they beat Howard like 70-0, and then hammered Syracuse, which was ranked at the time, I think, and then end up losing a ton again. We were all excited about that. So wait and see, but you can definitely see the talent.
Hey, if Stewart is Merriman and Wingate is EJ Henderson, the best. Hey, let's go. The best linebacking core in history of Maryland.
Victor could be Nick Novak. So right,
yeah, there you go.
Well, I mean that. Yeah, I mean that's the thing too. Like there was so much good news, and so many guys popped off the screen in ways you're not used to. Like last year, Maryland beat UConn, obviously, and Virginia away. But there were some canary in a coal mine issues there. Like UConn, they were not able to push UConn off the ball at all. That was a thing that obviously would rear its head later when they played better teams. I didn't see that
first half of Virginia.
But same
really
thing
bad
this week though too. They were not able to run very well either.
Well, they were running for 5 or 6 a clip in the first half or through the third quarter, and then they basically gave up. They got stuck at the end when they basically were clearly not throwing the ball anymore. So that the final stat wasn't as bad as it was before they really stopped playing. But certainly they didn't have a dominating rushing performance by any stretch of the imagination.
That's a concern. That's definitely a concern.
On offense, that's the one thing.
Because they kept him upright. There were no sacks. The pass protection was good, but there weren't many long runs at all. And that's a team that's, as hard as it is for Maryland to get, really good offensive linemen. The guys FAU is getting in the trenches are 2-3 star recruit types that you should be able to push them downfield. So,
and the other really bad thing that happened, Jalen Gilchrist. To add to the
while you were out, that's an absolute killer. I mean, the offensive line, I think that first five, that starting five could be, solid.
Right.
But behind them, he was the number 6 lineman. Behind that, it's very thin. They need to basically go undefeated with injuries on the offensive line.
Yeah, I continue to be annoyed at Terez Davis, man. He'd be getting so much playing time this year if he stuck around, but that's the world we live in, and that's just what you got to deal with now. So, you got to hope that like a Ryan Howerton can step up and be like the backup tackle now. I know they moved him inside I think he was playing right guard for the second team and got a decent amount of snaps, but he always looked like he was going to be a tackle to me. So hopefully he can step up. But again, the depth on the offensive line is not good at all. And that's a really horrifying thing. But again, they kept Malik absolutely clean. I think he got hit maybe once or twice. In terms of being able to get the run game, maybe that's something that works better with reps, but pass protection was excellent. So that's a good start there. Wide receivers, I thought they played pretty well. Obviously, Jaleel Farouk was okay. I think he got better as the game went on a little bit. Obviously, he's coming off a leg injury too. He was out for spring ball and has kind of been on the shelf for a while. I thought Webb, the Tennessee transfer, looked pretty good. There have been guys like, Octavian Smith, still not totally put it together, but he made some plays. Shalik Knotts had a nice touchdown. That's a guy who's a 4-star kid out of high school that maybe might be able to turn it on this last year. And you got guys like McLaurin and Ryan Manning who, did a little bit of stuff. Hopefully some of those guys can start to emerge a little bit because there really isn't a clear-cut number one here in terms of receivers. And I'm not sure there's much difference between, your number 1 receiver and your number 4 receiver right now. So there's plenty of opportunity for somebody to step up and really take that thing over. But at least given what we saw coming into the season on paper, I'm not super displeased with what I saw there. And hey, Nolan Ray was okay. I thought DeJuan Williams, man, he had a couple runs that made you think, oh boy, just get that. If you let that guy squirt through the line, like he's going to be a problem. So I really like the idea of that 2-headed rushing monster, even if it didn't quite work out. And yeah, obviously my buddy Greg here mentioning Dorian Fleming was basically the number 1 receiver for Malik. And I think that will probably continue, not only because he's a great player, but because, Malik's still working his way into being a college quarterback. So that kind of quick passing, dump and run stuff is going to be kind of what they're doing with him for a while, I would imagine.
And the crazy thing about Shalik Knotts, he was, I think, somewhere in the 120s as a recruit overall nationally, like the number 125.
Hi, yeah.
And that was 4 years ago. That was his first touchdown catch in his career, which is kind of amazing. So
it's amazing.
Finally, that is very rare to have a guy. It's rare for anybody to stay 4 years anywhere,
right?
But to have a guy who's a blue chip recruit goes somewhere and just can't quite crack the rotation or make the play for 3 years to stick around. There's not many cases out there like that. So that'd be a cool story if he could, consistently be a contributor this year. That'd be huge for them. I agree with what Paul said. I think, the tight end is probably going to be 1 or 1B in terms of their receiving options. They'll probably have to throw to the running backs quite a bit. The throw, I thought Malik Washington's best throw of the day was the one to Webb. And you could see just how big he's listed 6'4". He looks every inch of that. They threw another pass to the 6'7" kid, Jordan Scott from Florida State. He dropped it. It was a dime from Washington. But, they have enough playmakers to get by. To me, it's just, again, it's so cliche. It's all about the trenches. But defensive line looked pretty good. Again, it's just FAU, but the defense to me, I think it's weird to say this about a defense that had 4 guys drafted from last year's team, but the defense looks like it could be
better. Yeah. One great thing that hasn't been mentioned yet, the special teams, not the kickoff coverage, but both kickers, man, how great to have a field goal kicker that you can rely up to 50 maybe just up to 50 after that. Don't know. And the punter, just great punts. That's going to win games.
Yeah,
that
they
totally
might have
win
a
games.
top whatever kicker and punter in the Big Ten that's winning on the margins right there, which they definitely were not doing, previously.
Right.
Yeah, and on the defensive side, I think the defensive line, Cam Rice looked really good at the nose. He was sucking up blockers, and sometimes he was able to squirt through and really cause some trouble for them. I think that was a big reason as to why the freshman ends were able to be so successful. Daniel Wingate was everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. I mean, you would just see number 1 fly in from the side of the TV screen when you're watching the replay, just out of nowhere. When just somebody got stopped for a second, and you'd see him flying and finish the job. Like
he was motivated by being on the podcast last week.
Yeah, he got the IMS radio bump clearly, and took that to heart. So I respect that. But yeah,
we play this week.
Yeah, I know. We just got to keep getting them back, and they can have a good game the next week. But yeah, it's interesting because we talked about this, how Maryland's replaced a bad defense. I think he said 4 of the guys got drafted off of that bad defense. So the best players off of a bad defense are gone. A couple guys who we thought would be the best players on this defense transferred out. But it might be a better defense. It certainly looks more athletic, and it looks long in a way that it hasn't in a while. The linebackers especially, with Wingate, Harris, some of these other guys, obviously the rush end, some are playing a stand-up linebacker as opposed to a defensive end. But like all these guys, they don't look like freshmen. They don't look like rookies. I mean, they're in there and they're ready to play. Even that freshman defensive tackle, Jeff, whose name I can't remember right now, played a ton and was also really disruptive. So I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, that's just more based on looks. No.
I haven't watched the replay, so
now I got to find it because I'm gonna feel bad because
somebody tell him in the chat.
Somebody tell the freshman defensive tackle who's very good. Is it Taylor? Maybe
Nasir Taylor.
Nasir Taylor. Yep. Yeah, he only had 1 tackle, but man, he was doing a lot of good stuff in there. Messiah Delam, another kid who is a youngster who came in and played pretty well. I mean, I don't really have anything to add. It was just a really good, I think the first quarter obviously was like just that prototypical everybody trying to figure things out kind of thing on both sides of the ball. The one touchdown Maryland gave up to FAU was just a coverage breakdown where safety bid on something they shouldn't have. So otherwise, they didn't even really come close to threatening Maryland at all. So again, all the caveats, obviously, it's FAU. They're probably going to be terrible. But, I mean, that's the performance that they need to have against a team like that. So we move on to next week and see what happens.
Here's the thing.
You can see why Locksley let some of those veterans walk. I mean, I don't know. He probably didn't have the money for some of them. Could have probably made it happen with some. So some of it was a budget thing. But he felt like the young talent at those spots, like you lose Caleb Wheatland and Kellen Wyatt to Auburn and Indiana at linebacker. These linebackers – and those guys I really liked as players, but these guys are younger, more athletic.
Better.
Back, Billy Edwards, he walks. You get Malik Washington, only 1 game, so I don't want to declare anything, but you can see why that move, was Roman Hemby. He had a great game for Indiana for his first game.
He's going to have a great year.
Like $130, but still you've got young, maybe more explosive guys. They didn't have a great game in week 1, but anyways, you can see how intentional this youth movement is, although he's never going to call it a youth movement or rebuilding because he has to win now, but you can see the thinking behind it.
But the whole rebuilding thing, if with the young guys, if there was confidence they were going to keep them all, how exciting would it be right now to be a Maryland football fan? So many freshmen and sophomores, and there's another class coming in, and you got the number 1 player in the country coming in, and there's going to be a Locks special on signing day. How it would be really exciting, like truly exciting right now if we weren't worried about portal and everybody coming in and throwing money in and taking the players.
The difference now, though, is, first off, these guys really most of them have come in with the being sold because they've been convinced in this vision to all come together collectively, accomplish things that Maryland hasn't been accomplishing, and then also you can pay them now. So
but when whoever wants to give Malik Washington $5 million next year, hey, Uncle Kevin.
You got to figure that out. Yeah, I mean, there's some of the guys who are just straight up, they're just locks recruits, and they're not, and they're loyal to him. So,
but when $5 million or whatever,
of course, you're going to have to come up with something competitive. But every day, recruits are choosing schools without them being the highest bidder. It happens all the time. Everybody just assumes because everybody likes money that they're going to take the highest offer. But
so they are going to keep them all together, is what you're saying.
I think you're always going to have some guys leave. That's just the nature of the beast right now. But I think if this season goes well, I think they have a pretty good chance to retain a lot of these guys.
I was just going to pop that too.
And seeing Zahir Mathis and Sidney Stewart and then Zion Ely coming off the edges the next year or two could be pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's part of the reason I spoke about this a little bit last week. I want to keep Locks around because he's finally got a chance to at least compete on a somewhat fair playing field when it comes to NIL and things like that, which has not been the case to this point. Now with the house settlement, sure, we know the big guns are going to spend way more money than everybody else, but most programs are not even going to spend what Maryland's going to spend. I mean, Maryland's probably going to be a top 30 or top 40 football program in terms of the money they're spending on NIL, because a lot of these other conferences just can't pay the kind of money, and the schools can't generate it on their own. So sure, every team in the Big Ten is going to be paying what Maryland's paying, probably
more.
But yeah, or more, but maybe 2 or 3 in the ACC, 3 or 4 in the Big 12. So it's a scenario where it's okay, Mike Locksley's always been a good recruiter. He's a guy you can sell a vision. He's a guy you can sell people and keep kids around. So I'm interested to see after a season like this, whether he can just be all right, well, I can pay you enough. I can't match every offer. I can't match $5 million for a quarterback, but I can match 3. Is that enough to keep you with me to give me a chance?
That's what he's going to have to do.
He's convinced some guys to take. There've been a bunch who he's convinced to take less. Look at Talia a couple of years ago. Could have left for a huge raise to Auburn and kept him around.
Right. I mean, there is a little precedence to this too.
Here are the 6 teams off the top of my head, ACC, that'll pay more. Florida State, Miami, Clemson, North Carolina, SMU, Louisville. Definitely. And in the Big 12, BYU, you know what they're doing. You know what Texas Tech is doing. And there's more than that in the Big 12 that are going to be paying more. The entire SEC.
North Carolina spending $1 billion.
I know. How great was that?
How's that worked out for them so far?
I was loving that.
Oh my God! Ants.
All right.
I read the Athletic had a good article today running down how it was a huge event, huge pregame party coordinated all through Chapel Hill, one of the biggest events in years there leading up to that.
They have destroyed their program for years, I think, now. But here, let's pull up the projection so we can move looking forward now. Jeff, you haven't done yours yet, so just quickly look here. Are there any games you want to change based off of last week?
No, I can't really change anything based off FIU. Need a few more weeks.
Okay, I did change some. I went from 5.29 to 606. Part of that is about 10% of a win because they went from 90% to 100% for Florida Atlantic. But we're very close now. I have 6.06. Paul, you have 6.04. That's what you were last week, but you said you overshot last week, and now they've caught up to where you originally. Same for you, Jeff, here, 5.97. Hoagie's at 5.56. We have the analytics sites. ESPN's got them at 6.74.
Wow.
Massey, 6.9. K Ford, 6.11. Team rankings still just at 5.7. An average of 6.14. And if you take ours out, the analytics sites have Maryland at 6.36. And then if you drill down further, according to the team rankings, the most likely record now is 5.7 with 6-6 is second most likely. For K Ford, 6-6 is most likely by a lot, with 7-5 as the second most likely. The bowl percent chance, team rankings 49.7, ESPN 79.8.
Wow.
K Ford 66%. So those analytics are encouraging. They're
So
encouraging.
how much did they with ESPN and the other where they jumped to the high sixes? How much did they jump from last week? Where were they at last week?
So ESPN was 6.74. They jumped over a game.
Wow.
A third of that.
FPU.
But a third of that is just getting the win against Florida Atlantic because they had Maryland at 70%. So they get 0.3 bump just from going 70% to a full win. So really it was a game. Across the other 11 games, the percentages add up to a game difference. Massey was already very high, so they only bumped about 0.65. K Ford bumped 1.16. And team rankings bumped 1.2. So that's all really, really good stuff. That's about what I did too. I bumped about a game. I went from 5.29 to 6.06. I think 4-8. I'd be surprised. You combine Malik, he's a legit quarterback. I think that's established now. With the special teams, which can win games, and the fact that about 4 of Maryland's opponents looked really bad. Really bad. Like the UCLA game, they're traveling across country. If they weren't traveling across country, I'd make Maryland a favorite in that game. The cross-country thing.
Oh, absolutely. Things. No, I think Nico sucks, dude. Can we just say that? Like, that dude's terrible. That dude's got paid a lot of money to be awful at quarterback. So, like, that's kind of fun for me to watch.
So he overplayed his hand, demanded more money at Tennessee. They said, see ya. Very similar to what Locksley did with the guys who left Maryland. So he goes to UCLA, gets about half the amount of money from reports, from $2 million down to about $1 million. He asked for 4, I think was the reports, but went from 2 to 1. And Tennessee says, all right, we're taking UCLA's quarterback, Joey Aguilar. And Aguilar looked great for Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, oh my God, he calls himself a lot of money.
It's a great storyline, and there's so many. The one good thing about the portal is it's going to give us some crazy storylines like that with teams like switching quarterbacks and things for less money, and that's going to be a lot of fun to follow.
Hey, real quick. Thank you, Rad. Loving the spreadsheets. Thank you. We love it when people do that. That's almost as good. That's almost as good as a super chat right there.
There you go. Not quite as good, but almost.
What are Paul, you and I both said 4-8 last week. You still 4-8? So
let me put it this way. After last week, I'm way less concerned about Maryland blowing one of these first 3 games. For me, it was like, okay, if Malik could walk in here and, you just never know what you're going to get with a true freshman quarterback. Like that is a scary, scary thing to have to do. So the fact that he looks like someone who is at least not going to lose you a game means Maryland almost certainly starts 3-0 here, which probably would make me bump up at least to 5-7. Because the idea that they couldn't squeeze 2 out of the final 9 games probably means that a very considerable cascade of terrible things has to happen, which isn't unprecedented here. But we're the caveat of injuries, of course. Yeah, that would change every prediction. I mean, I'll tell you this. I mean, Malik is probably the only playable quarterback Maryland has right now. So, like, if Malik goes down, that's probably it for the season. You can pack it up. But that's also a big reason why, that's probably what should happen if you have a quarterback in college. Not many backup college quarterbacks are going to take you very far if they're not surrounded by a lot of talent. But certainly by looks, this looks like a fairly decent team. It doesn't look like there's a lot of holes in the way that when you just looked at the team on the roster and you saw all these transfers and freshmen, you wonder how that's going to look when you mix them all together and start up that crock pot. But to this point, it looks like all the ingredients fit, and there's some good things to have some faith in and feel like they can play some good football. But again, let's get past Friday night. Now, Northern Illinois, this is not your father's Northern Illinois with Michael the Burner Turner. They're kind of assy compared to their typical.
This is not your 1 year older than you, brother.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe your dad's Northern Illinois, right? So like, yeah, they don't look very good. We know Towson's not very good. So if they can go ahead and get those 3, and then you go to Wisconsin, and it's kind of like, all right,
let's see.
Let's see what happens.
Here's one thing though. It seems like the coach at Illinois and Locks are kind of buddies a little bit, maybe. And then obviously he went to Towson, he's buddies with everybody there too. I feel like even if Maryland might get out to a big lead, Locks is going to call the dogs off.
Disagree.
So I feel you disagree?
Disagree. Well, didn't we play Towson last year or the year before?
And he did.
He absolutely smoked them.
He called the dogs off.
Well, what was the final?
I don't remember, but I remember him like bringing in all the subs and like.
Well, I mean, he's going to bring in all the subs and stuff because Maryland's such a young team. Like, they need to get all these guys all the snaps they can get. But I still think he'll happily put 50 on either one of them if given the chance.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. But yeah, I'm definitely. I was between 4 and 6, and I was really scared about 4 because of the offensive line, the unsureness about Malik and all that. But he looks good. The special teams are so much better, and also vibes matter. Last year, the locker room sucked, and that's going to cost you games. And they all get along and love each other now. That wins games too.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's easy to love each other when it's September and you're playing Western, Eastern, Northern State, and winning ball games by a lot of points. I mean, we can't predict the locker room is going to stay that way. But to your point, I will say, now that Maryland is playing with probably 3 or 4 times the money they had before, at least probably everybody who's playing football is getting paid enough where maybe that's not such of an issue.
My point being that there's a lot of really good reasons to bump up from 4 wins, and I was 4 to 6. I think 5 is the floor now, and I think 6 is very, very doable and maybe likely at this point. Like 3 and 6 in the Big Ten is not crazy.
And to add what you guys said, like the chemistry thing, it sounds like if you're just listening, sounds like could be an excuse. And at the beginning of every year, every team says the chemistry is great and stuff. But I actually got a text from a source about that, and he said the main reason this team will be better is the closeness. During camp, Locks had dinner with each position group and their leadership, and every night they had a 10-minute my brother's keeper moment, and it goes on. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it does sound very real that it's a better vibe this year.
Well, at least maybe more importantly that Locks was able to recognize that last year got off the rails and he needed to personally step in and do something about that. Like the one thing about a person who's made it to this level in college football, like you don't get that far in life without having a massive ego and thinking that how to do things right. And to see someone who is in this position being able to, like, you know what, that's on me. I couldn't hold it together last year, but I'm going to do things differently. This is how I'm going to start doing it differently. And actually doing that and seeing hopefully some results from that. Like that's a real positive. And that's some of that stuff. If you played team sports, even at not a super high level, like that stuff matters. So
it does.
Ego can be your worst enemy as a coach. And, he, like you're saying, Paul, he's realized that, some things probably need to be managed different and, more efforts toward building chemistry, especially now that so much money is involved. And I'm sure it helps. It makes it a lot, it makes a guy a lot quicker to ditch any ego or any sort of stubbornness when you're in a make or break year, possibly for your career.
Yeah, and it probably doesn't hurt to some degree that Ted Monachino and Pep Hamilton both have extensive NFL experience. So they've worked in the past with guys who are getting paid and who are, kind of playing every week for that paycheck. So maybe that helps a little bit too. I don't know. But, I think anything that can kind of reverse what we saw last year, because that team was not a very good football team, but I don't think they were as bad as the record ended up being either. So
the Towson, Shepherd.18. Thank you. The score in 2023 against Towson was 38-6. And my recollection of the game is they got that lead in the first half, and then the second half played very vanilla ball.
I'll take an L on that because that Towson team was not good. They could have put a lot more up on them than they did.
Yeah.
So
okay. I think we did football. Unless any other comments before Jeff starts getting into basketball recruiting?
I would just say, like what a couple commenters have mentioned, special teams was excellent except for kickoff coverage. That's got to get cleaned up quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, man, we talk about it a million times, but it just felt good to see them out there, and with all those new guys and that first kind of couple games where you got to figure out everybody's new number and all that stuff, and who's the freshman, who's playing, how many snaps they get, and all that stuff. This week was fun to do that. I mean, that was a really fun replay to watch just to kind of get a feel as to who these new guys are. That secondary, man, Jeff was talking about it all off season. I think that secondary could be really legit. Glasgow and Joyner were excellent. Humes looked really good. Braden Lee played well. I think Husky moving to safety. Scruggs got a nice pick. Could have had two. I think there's a lot of hope there too. So again, I'm not changing any of my major predictions or any of that stuff officially until we get through these first three games. And even really Wisconsin and Washington. I mean, we've seen this before.
Oh, if they win at Wisconsin and they get to 4-0, then you're changing predictions at that point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if they go to Wisconsin to get plastered as usual, then we're going to have a very different conversation. Right. So again, I'm not getting fooled again here, but you can, enjoy the moments, as a certain Terp might say.
Yes. All right. One other thing I'll say, pretty good week for the Big Ten. Ohio State beating Texas. Love to see that. This week's going to be very interesting. Illinois at Duke and Michigan at Oklahoma. Two very big games for the Big Ten to see how they're going to look in the power rankings and how that's going to play out for seeding at the end of the year. All right, Jeff, basketball recruiting. What you got?
Pretty busy. In 2 weeks, next weekend, they have a big recruiting weekend, 3 official visits, including Baba Alatun, the former number 1 overall player in 2027, who's reclassified to 2026, top 10 player, kid from Silver Spring. We'll see what their chances are. We've talked about that one ad nauseum. Trey Beamer, point guard, number 9 point guard in the country. And I believe Caden House is also. They added was it Caden? I can't remember if it was House, but they added a third guy for this weekend. It's hard to read. Like couldn't be more opposite of Kevin Willard's, to where you couldn't really find anything to report on high school recruits, to whereas it's hard to keep up. They've got Junior County coming in soon, number 30 player in the country from Utah. They're in his final 5, and Colby actually wrote about him this week. They have a real shot there. Abdu Torre is going to officially visit. He's top 30 also, big forward who they love. We'll see. There's a lot of schools throwing a lot of money at him, but Latrell Allman's another guy they're right in there with. The new rankings will be out Thursday. He's on the rise. The kid, Jalen Collingwood, he'll be one of the biggest risers actually nationally in the new rankings on Thursday. I think that one could be a Michigan-Maryland State battle conceivably. They've fallen in love with him. So, as I wrote, I think a couple weeks ago, he's probably, as we all know, they don't have a single local native on this year's roster. They want to change that, but they want to make sure it's the right guy. He, I think, is their top choice in terms of cracking that DMV seal. Asher Ellison, an athletic 6'10" forward from Overtime Elite. The new assistant coach, Aki Collins, was Overtime Elite's general manager, essentially, or player personnel manager. So he made the connection there. Syracuse is also very heavily in the mix. So it is a long list of targets. As I've said, they're probably only going to take maybe 3 high school kids. They already have 1 committed in Austin Brown. So it's about to get really interesting, and we'll see if we've already seen them. They're really good stretch of closing with transfers last offseason. Now we'll see how they can do with some of these highly rated high school kids.
I love the names we got going on here, man. Those are gonna keep you busy, man. I wanted to hear you.
Adama Tambidu. I'm not sure if that's right. There's another name for you. 6'7" forward from Putnam Science Academy in Connecticut. So we'll have plenty to report on.
Is your overall impression that they're only going to take a few, so they're not going to have some crazy top 5 class or something like that?
Well, once you add, so now we 24/7 adds the transfers into the class, because how could you not, considering how big the portal has become? But in terms of high school guys, most schools aren't taking, most high majors aren't taking that many. So it could be if you take 3 or 4, that's probably the average right now. It could be, but you got to close on, some of these top guys, obviously, to make that happen. And there's several of these guys who, again, like, when they got Darius Adams last year, or not last year, but in the spring, he was, I think, the 4th highest rated high school recruit they've signed since 2000. And there's several guys on this list who would also be in that top 10. So, it has some really high upside, but there's pretty good competition for most of them.
All right.
What's up with the Kesey Jr., Jeff? Is he going to make it to campus anytime soon, or?
I would think so. He's 2027. So he's a little farther on the horizon, but from what I've heard, they've made some inroads there. I've been trying to find a way. I need to chase down the Big O, his dad, who I remember watching at the Capitol Classic and wondering what the hell Gary Williams was thinking, but apparently he knew more about talent than I did. But yeah, I need to track him down, see what he's saying. But from what I've heard, they feel like they have some traction with Kesey.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting because you have him and Baba, who are both, top 10 guys, and you get at least one of those guys, you're certainly cooking. I mean, that's 27 guys, but
get them both.
Just get them both. That's what I do.
As always, money is going to be part of it. Those guys are each probably $2 million players, I would think, yearly, but it's not like they don't know that.
They're they're Derek Queen kind of, call Uncle Kev and figure it out kind of guys.
Yeah. Benekisi will forever be remembered for his free throws against Illinois. He will forever be loved by Terp Nation for that. All right. Hey, this is a good comment too. The new Performance Center looks awesome, Jeff.
Yeah, they posted. I tried to get a sneak peek of it while I was there a couple weeks ago. They weren't. It was Fort Knox, because obviously when you put $30 million into something like that, you want to get the PR splash out of it, understandably. So they posted a couple videos actually tonight, Wednesday night, or last night if you're listening on Thursday, that were pretty impressive, as you'd expect. It's nice. The only, the one catch or drawback, I guess, is it only has one full-size court. When they started planning it, they were going to have at least 2 full-size courts in there. And then COVID hit and the cost of materials skyrocketed. So they had to cut one of the courts out. So that's the only downside. But otherwise, it looks, from the videos, it looks as nice as you would expect for a $30 million facility. Hopefully we can check it out before too long.
Yeah, I can certainly say from the tailgate, we tailgate in the grass right outside of that, and it looks really nice, just the way that they built it into that small hill kind of leading up to the Terrapin Trail garage. So it's cool, and I hope to see the kind of funky way if they made a tunnel to get around to where the old locker rooms were, how they're going to do all of that now that the building is kind of on the opposite side of where the locker rooms or the weight rooms used to be, kind of on the pavilion side. So I'll be fascinated to see that. Jim, give us a call when we can come over and you can take us on a little tour, and that'd be nice.
He did say we would do that live show from there. So
yeah, just saying, it was done.
Let's hear from our boy Wheels.
Do we have to?
It's Wheels with your Inside Maryland Sports non-revenue sports report. We continue to be so back.
Good stuff.
Men's soccer continues its strong start after they beat St. Francis of Pennsylvania 6-0. This came on the heels of a 2-2 tie against Bucknell. That no result against now 7th-ranked Wake Forest continues to keep the Terps out of the national rankings. They're not even receiving votes. They welcome University of the Pacific this Saturday in College Park. The women's team defeated Navy last week, but lost 3-1 to Florida. They take on James Madison and Harrisonburg this coming Thursday. A win against the Dukes would give the Terps their 5th win of this young season. That would actually eclipse last season's total win total. 4th-ranked field hockey team rolled Stanford and Villanova last week by a combined 7-1 score. They head down to Durham this weekend to take part in the ACC Big Ten Challenge with games against Boston College and 5th-ranked Duke. Both golf teams finally swing into action. Hope you like the pun. The men head to a tournament in Myrtle Beach this weekend.
Golf.
The women
Let's
early
go.
next week head down to College Charleston. Finally, that cross-country event that Larry thought about attending last week was a good one for the Terps. They finished 2nd behind Johns Hopkins, but ahead of George Washington and Georgetown. And that is a wrap on your non-revenue sports report. Be well, everyone.
2 things real quick. We just put a men's soccer story up. Good stuff from Harrison, our new guy. And shout out to Wheels, because for those who don't know him, he's accomplished, has an accomplished career in the college faculty area. And he did us the honor of giving my son like an hour-long Zoom of college guidance and application hacks and all that stuff. So shout out to Wheels.
Nice.
He didn't do that for my kid. What the hell?
You should have asked.
Jerk.
Yeah. What a jerk.
I'm so tired of college stuff right now. I just want it to be over.
You know what I am so excited to share with everybody. Let's take a look. Let's just take a look at last week's Pick'em contest. Paul's picks versus Larry's locks versus Erman's evaluations. Paul, 5 out of 10. This is not against the spread. It's just straight up. Paul, 5 out of 10. Jeff, 4 out of 10. Larry, 8 out of 10. Let's go. I got Florida State over Alabama wrong, and I picked Texas over Ohio State. Got all the rest. The rest. So
imagine being a Texas fan and waiting years for that.
Well, they've been really good. They're clearly back as a program, and they're not going anywhere because they're spending more money than anybody else. So they're not that bad.
Like really back, and they just, no.
Yeah, that was their first number 1 preseason ever or something, right? And then they just absolutely get embarrassed. Like, they obviously they only lost by a touchdown or whatever, but it was rough. It was rough on the media circuit.
They had opportunities that they kind of blew and stuff. You get 2 top 3 teams in the country playing each other. One of them's going to lose. If the game was, 34-27, no one would be saying you guys.
Right.
But also they've been waiting a long time for Arch.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. When Arch is getting so much hype and Heisman hype, and I'm kind of part of it too. I thought he was going to be great because he looked good in his backup duty last year, and then he was missing throws. He was confused by the coverage, and I guess you give Matt Patricia, the new defensive coordinator at Ohio State, you give him credit. I saw a thing where they were switching coverages post-snap. Like, he'd call out his play, Ohio State would switch afterward, and then he was just confused.
Look, man, being a college quarterback is hard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of why when people are like, "Oh, don't worry, Malik Washington's really good. I watched him at Spalding. It'll be fine." And like, yeah, but like the step up from high school quarterback to college quarterback is just night and day. I mean, especially with the stuff that colleges are running these days. So, that was part of my only reticence here. Just like, it's really tough to play that position here, let alone as a true freshman. In Arch Manning's case, is a guy who really had a ton of snaps. A lot of the snaps he had were in certain situations, or in games that, they were already winning by 40. So, yeah, I'm not totally surprised. And he might turn out to be fine.
I think he's still going to be good. It's game 1. He's on the road at a stadium with 100,000 ravenous people. I'm not jumping off the bandwagon entirely yet. Maybe he's not the Heisman, but he's still good, I think.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
it's
sure
just if he
they'll have
if he didn't
a-
have that last name, there'd be a little less hype. I think that's pretty fair to say. But
Here we go. 10 picks again for week 2. I found a bunch of Power 4 conference games. And so we're going to pick those. I've made my picks. They're hidden in white text there. I'll reveal them afterwards. But let's just quickly go. Paul, Illinois at Duke.
all right, that's actually a tough one. I like both of these teams, but I'm going to go with the Big Ten here and go with the fighting Bielemas.
Darian Mensah. Duke paid $4 million for Darian Mensah, but they struggled against Elon last week in the first half and didn't pull away until late, and they had their starters in late to pull away.
Yeah, they did. They weren't full of instilling any confidence last week. But
I
still think they're going to be pretty.
Spoiler alert, I think Brett Bielema is just going to ground and pound those guys. But okay, Jeff?
I'll take the upset with Duke. Illinois as a top 10 team just doesn't seem like real life to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they're top 10 good either, but I think they're good enough to beat Duke.
All right,
To walk into the gauntlet of Wallace Wade.
Cy-Hawk rivalry, Paul, Iowa at Iowa State.
Oh, so many farms. Give me Matt Campbell in this one. I'll take the home team over the conference.
Jeff?
Yeah, I'll go Iowa State.
Okay. Michigan at Oklahoma, big one.
I think Michigan's going to be good, but not this week. Give me Oklahoma.
Jeff?
That's a tough one. Yeah, I'll go Big Ten since I've picked 2 losses. We'll take Michigan.
Well, here's the thing. Michigan, as everybody knows, the number 1 recruit in the country last year. Bryce Underwood, a true freshman starting for them. And that's why the title of the show so far is called Malik Washington is the best freshman in the Big Ten. That's a little dig at Bryce Underwood. We'll see how he does this week. He's playing at Oklahoma. If he impresses there, then he'll have a chance to take the lead over Malik. Thus far, Malik's got the edge. All right, Paul. Baylor at SMU is the game for listeners.
All right. Damon Evans can kiss my butt, but I think his team's going to win. So give me SMU.
SMU. Jeff?
I'll go SMU.
Okay. Oklahoma State at Oregon.
You can just fill these in for all of us, Larry. Quack, quack.
Yeah. Have you seen Oregon State's head coach? He's been there forever. Great head coach, but he made some really unfortunate comments this week about payroll, like loser talk. Like, why are we even playing these guys? Non-conference games should be matchups against equal payroll teams. And like last week, they played a directional school, like who doesn't have the same payroll that Oklahoma State has. What's his name? Somebody remind me in the chat.
Oklahoma State, it's Gundy, Mike Gundy.
Gundy, yes.
Yeah,
really.
Always been he's a good coach, but he's a clown at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
he's not going to survive this era. By the way, he's done.
I think he's done. Well, he was propped up by what's the guy's name at Oklahoma State? The oil guy who propped up that program for decades.
T-Boone, right?
T-Boone Pickens. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd like to thank Mr. Popo for reminding us that Iowa State is the El Assico matchup, which is one of my favorite names for rivalry games is actually a soccer one. It's LAFC against LA Galaxy called El Trafico, which is another good one. Obviously making fun of El Clasico, which is Barcelona and Real Madrid. So there you go. There's your international soccer talk.
Did you know any of that? Did you know any of that?
Talking about that before the show with my wife.
Okay, here's a trick.
Oh, I know. Dana knows. She knows.
Here's a trick question. Where does Barcelona play soccer?
Barcelona, Spain.
Okay, I'll give you that. All right.
I thought you were asking about the stadium.
I was wondering you're talking about the stadium? That's Barcelona Athletic Complex.
I've been there. I saw Messi there.
Ding ding!
All right.
You win.
Yeah,
All right. Boston College at Michigan State.
Give me Sparty in that one.
There's no way BC is any good at this stage of money in college football, right?
They might have been if they kept
there.
if they kept Castellanos, right?
Oh, yeah. Wow, did he looked great against Alabama. I think I think I saw the spread is about 5 in that game.
Wow.
Yeah, it's less. It's actually a bit of a scary line. If you
just
if
for
you
that
actually,
reason, I think I'm going to go BC.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I'm not doing that, but it is a bit
But
of a threatening
this is
line.
straight up. This is straight up. We're not
I
going to win.
understand.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's a
Okay.
smelly line, though.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Paul, UCLA at UNLV.
Oh
The
man,
aforementioned Nico Iamaleava.
two just terrible looking teams from last week. I don't know. I will never believe in UCLA, and maybe Dan Mullen will pull something out of his playbook. So let's go with UNLV. Hell with it.
All right, Jeff.
Yeah, UCLA stinks. I have no idea how good UNLV is, but we'll take them.
Okay, that's the only there's 2 non-power 4 here. Anyway, Vanderbilt at Virginia Tech.
This feels like a does Brent Pry keep his job kind of game, and I'm gonna go with the Hokies here. If they lose to Vandy at home, it's gonna get ugly quick.
It is
I'm going Vandy just because Virginia Tech can't get right under Pry. Last week, I thought they had a chance at pulling that one off of South Carolina. I don't know if you guys saw, by the way, Nick Harbor finally did things.
Yeah.
I'm sure every Maryland fan loved to see. But, Virginia Tech, I tweeted this the other day. Every year it becomes more apparent how much of a miracle worker Frank Beamer was to win at that level because nobody's been able to do anything since he left there. I'll go Vandy.
Right. Yeah, Nick Harbor he's just so fast. He's completely outrun the defense. Bomb. That was
he's getting more experience this year for when he transfers to Maryland next year and wins the Heisman, right?
That would
just like in everybody's NCAA football dynasty.
Exactly.
Last year.
That would be acceptable. All right, Kansas at Missouri, the border war.
Oh man. Kansas looked a little rough. And Missouri's just a better program, so I'm going Missouri.
Spent a lot of time in Missouri covering Missouri, so I'll go with them. I have no idea who's better. I think didn't they get I'm trying to remember who they played last week. I can't recall, but Missouri.
All right, Northern Illinois and at Maryland to close it out.
Yeah, Terps are going to win this one, and I don't think it's going to be particularly close. This Northern Illinois team does not appear to be very good.
Any chance Jeff picks Northern Illinois here?
Michael Turner is not walking through that door. They beat Holy Cross by 2 points last week.
All right.
I'll go Maryland.
And if Michael Turner does walk through that door, he's out of eligibility and he's like 40 now. So I think we're safe. Despite the Friday night curse of recent years, I think they'll be okay.
Some differences. Paul, you and I picked Illinois. Jeff got Duke. You and I, Paul, picked Oklahoma. He picked Michigan. You two both picked SMU. I picked Baylor. You and I picked Michigan State. Jeff picked Boston College. Jeff and we both picked Vanderbilt. Paul picked Virginia Tech. I picked Kansas in an upset at Missouri. You guys both got Missouri. We all 3 got Maryland. All right, there you go. We'll see how that goes this week.
That's fun. It's nice to have extra things to root for on the weekend.
Especially
Maryland. Yeah, I'm really bummed. I can't go Friday night because I got a wedding and it's like a whole weekend thing.
I'm not going Friday either. I was planning to go, but I'm going to be laid up.
You have plenty of reasons not to go.
Man.
Yeah, you get comfy on the couch and you're good to go. But
it's
always nice. It's always nice when Maryland has a bye or like a Friday Friday night game or something off the Saturday, so you get that whole Saturday just to sit back and kind of relax. And I can't do that because I got the wedding, but I will be utilizing the apps on my phone quite often.
Yeah, so I won't be there. I was kind of thinking, since I'm going to be home, maybe do a post-game show late on a Friday night. That'd be kind of fun.
Hell yeah!
I think people would join. But you're going to be there, Paul?
You
said you're not going to be there.
Maybe I will be back in time. It would be on the fly for me.
Okay, Jeff, Maybe you want to do that?
I'd be able to make it happen. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, this is a kind of a one-off. If it's worth doing, maybe it's worth doing. But
Yeah.
they got to make it worth doing first.
Yeah.
People all need to show up to make it worth doing, as you are now, which we appreciate.
Yes, we do.
Yes. All right.
Last week was weird.
Post game on okay. Hey. Andrew Caldwell says post game on Friday. Yes, with 4 exclamation points.
Right,
we like that.
Andrew Caldwell stamp. That means it's a go. So let's.
All right.
I like the enthusiasm.
We're only doing it if we get $100 in super chats.
Strong arming him. That's fine. I don't think it would work, to be honest.
Yeah. There's no way. There's no way that's worth $100 to these people. Yeah.
I've seen podcasts that say if we get X, we're going to add time to the length of our show. Like there's some that do that.
Oh, some are insane. My son was watching an NFL.
But they get it. They get it. They get it.
It's crazy, some of them, but we'll get there.
Dude, Andrew, I'm broke. Sorry, dude. We're joking, dude. We're totally.
We got you, bro. It's all good, man. Like we're not. That's not why we're doing this. In fact, I will say I actually got a reminder. I don't know if it was Facebook or Instagram or what it was, but it was like one of those like 10 years ago things, and like a picture of us doing that live show with Turgeon at Looney's was there.
Oh, yes.
That popped
10
up
years.
And also the one in Austin, the IMS party show in Austin popped up like yesterday.
That was nice.
Nice.
That was nice. Was that 7 years ago? 8 years ago? That was like 2017, maybe 2018 down there.
Mr. Popo says the Powerball drops in 2 hours, so maybe we are going to get the super chats.
All right.
I hung out with him quite a bit on Saturday. It was a lot of fun. He's got a great family. I love those guys. All right, that's it for this week. Well, for tonight, we're going to go Friday night. I kind of want to do it, unless I don't want to.
Don't even say it. Don't even say it.
I'm not going to say. We're just going to plan on doing it. We're going to do that.
Well, even if the unthinkable happens, maybe that's more of a reason to do one. Actually.
Yeah. All right.
It's more newsworthy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, do us a favor. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to get the notifications when we go live. It's all free. Helps us with our algorithm, all of those things. So we very much appreciate it. I hope we'll be back on Friday night post game. If not, we'll see you next Wednesday. This is IMS Radio.